12-year-old Aaron rings his bicycle bell every morning at the edge of the valley. He stops where the pavement dissolves into a rough mountain trail, the exact point where the rest of the village turns back. Without a high school nearby, and with no bridge across the river during the rainy season, the village lives in total isolation. For most children here, education ends with elementary school. On this map, the river is the physical boundary, but this glowing wall represents an unquestioned belief. This shared resignation acts as a generational ceiling, locking the community into a fixed trajectory, where "that's just how life is here" becomes the final word. Aaron's father, a carpenter, lives within that limit. He once hoped to be an engineer, but after one failed exam, he buried that ambition under decades of timber and unpaid bills. He never complains. But every evening, he pauses his work to watch the school children walk home, his silence reinforcing the village's narrative that some things are simply impossible. This inherited certainty that geography dictates destiny remains the village's true boundary. The river is just the excuse. One afternoon, a rainstorm turns the river into a violent surge. The narrow crossing stones vanish beneath a rush of muddy water. The neighbors conclude the crossing is physically dangerous and mathematically impossible. They tell Aaron to go home and wait for the dry season. Aaron grips his bicycle at the water's edge. He is choosing to reject the generational silence that usually follows a storm. He pushes upstream into the dense underbrush. His legs sink into the wet earth, and thorny branches scratch his arms as he forces his bicycle through territory no one bothers to scout. He hits one dead end after another. A fallen tree blocks his path. The current grows too deep. A sheer wall of rock forces him to turn back. These are the failure thresholds, points where the environment provides every logical reason to quit and go home. Hours pass. On the other side of the mountain, the school bell has already rung. By any normal standard, he has already failed. But Aaron keeps moving. He operates on the belief that a landscape this vast cannot possibly have only one way across the water. Hidden behind a thick curtain of vines, he spots an unnatural shape. It is an old stone arch, half buried by moss. Someone built a bridge here centuries ago, and time simply hid it from a village that had stopped looking. The stones creak as he rolls his bicycle across. Birds burst from the trees, startled by the first footsteps to cross this path in generations. Aaron reaches school just before the final class ends. He is muddy, his notebook is damp, and he is late, but he has proven that the impossible boundary was a choice. Determination doesn't remove a physical obstacle, but it forces us to find the variables others have ignored. It reveals the paths that were already there. When Aaron tells the village he found another way, the news spreads faster than the storm. The next morning, curious children follow him to the bank. Then the parents arrive with tools. Over weeks of collective labor, they clear the vines, repair the loose stones, and turn a forgotten relic into a functional road. This chart shows the growth that follows a single act of persistence. Once the path is clear, farmers begin hauling fresh vegetables to the neighboring town. Doctors and teachers finally accept jobs at the local school. Years later, state engineers arrive to build a permanent steel bridge. They aren't responding to a request, they are responding to the reality of hundreds already using the route every day. At the opening ceremony, officials praise modern infrastructure. They walk across the steel and concrete, rarely glancing at the weathered stone arch still sitting in the shadows beside it. Standing at the riverbank, Aaron's father realizes he spent half his life waiting for someone to build a road, while the stones were already under the moss. The greatest barriers are the limits we accept without questioning. When we refuse to stop searching, we often discover that the way forward was always there, waiting for someone to keep looking.